looking at the flowers. He is looking at Juan Diego's chest. Zumarraga's face has drained of color. His eyes are wide, filled with tears. Slowly, shakily, the bishop falls to his knees. Then the interpreter kneels. Then the arrogant servants. One by one, every person in the room drops to the floor in an act of total adoration. Juan Diego looks down at himself, confused. He looks at his empty cloak. There, on the coarse, beige fibers of the agave cloth fibers that are too rough to paint on. Fibers that should be full of holes and stains is a perfect, glowing image. It is the lady. She is exactly as he saw her on the hill. She is wearing a mantle of blue-green stars. She is surrounded by the rays of the sun. She is standing on the moon. She is looking down with an expression of infinite compassion. The flowers were just the envelope. This was the letter. Bishop Zumarraga weeps openly. He asks forgiveness for his lack of faith. He crawls forward on his knees and, with trembling hands, he unties the knot of the cloak from behind Juan Diego's neck. He takes the tilma from the peasant's shoulders as if he is handling the Holy Eucharist. He carries it into his private chapel and places it on the altar. The war between two worlds ends in that room. The bridge has been built. The bishop spends the night in prayer before the image, and Juan Diego, the humble messenger, is finally treated as a guest of honor in the house of God. The miracle of the roses brought the bishop to his knees. But the image on the tilma, that was not a message for the Spanish. That was a letter written specifically to the Aztecs, in the only language they trusted, the language of symbols. You have to understand that for the indigenous people of 1531, their world was visual. They didn't write with letters, they wrote with glyphs. When they looked at the tilma, they didn't see a painting. They saw a document. They read the image like a book. And what they read was a message so sophisticated, it dismantled their fears without a single word being spoken. Let's decode the image exactly as an Aztec warrior would have read it 500 years ago. First, the posture. Her hands are joined in prayer. To the Spanish, this was standard piety. But to the Aztecs, this was shocking. In their theology, gods do not pray. Gods demand prayer. By pressing her hands together, she is telling them, I am not God. I am a messenger, just like you. Second, the belt. She wears a black ribbon tied high above her waist. For the indigenous people, this was the cinta, the maternity belt. It signaled one thing. This woman is pregnant. She is a virgin, yet she is a mother. Third, the sun and moon. The Aztecs were the people of the sun. They sacrificed thousands of hearts to keep the sun alive. But look at the image. She is standing in front of the sun, eclipsing it. She is blocking its rays, showing she is more powerful than their strongest god. Yet, she does not extinguish it. She is surrounded by it. And beneath her feet, she stands on a black crescent moon. In Nahuatl, Mexico means the navel of the moon. She is showing dominion over their land, but she is not crushing it. She is supported by it. Fourth, the flower. The most critical symbol is barely visible. On her dress, over her womb, is a four-petaled flower called the Nahuatl. To the Aztecs, this was the symbol of the center of the universe, the dwelling place of the supreme god. By placing this flower on her womb, the image screams a theological revolution. The true God is not in the sky demanding blood. He is here. He is growing inside me. The impact was instantaneous. In the decade following the apparition, 9 million Aztecs converted. It was the largest mass conversion in history. The image didn't just create a church, it created Mexico. But if the theology of the image is a masterpiece, the physics of the image is a ghost story, because the story doesn't end in 1531. In the modern age, the tilma has been subjected to a barrage of tests by chemists, NASA consultants, and Nobel laureates. And the more we study it, the more the laws of science seem to break down. The miracle of decay. The tilma is made of ayat, a rough fabric woven from cactus fibers. In the humid, salty air of Mexico City, this organic material rots within 20 years. It turns to dust. Yet this cloak is nearly 500 years old. For the first century, it hung without glass, exposed to incense, smoke, and the touch of millions of hands. It should be black with grime. It should be eaten by insects. Instead, the fibers are as strong and supple as the day they were woven. The acid test. In 1785, a worker was cleaning the frame with a 50% nitric acid solution, strong enough to eat through metal. He spilled it directly onto the cloth. It should have burned a hole instantly. Instead, the fabric repaired itself, leaving only a faint watermark. The bomb. In 1921, an anti-clerical radical hid a stick of dynamite in a bouquet of flowers and placed it on the altar. The explosion destroyed the marble rail, blew out the windows, and twisted a heavy brass crucifix into a pretzel. But the image? The thin glass protecting it didn't even crack. The shockwave bent brass, but it refused to touch the Virgin, the phantom paint. But the most chilling discovery came when scientists analyzed the pigments. In 1936, Nobel Prize winner Dr. Richard Kuhn analyzed fibers from the image. His conclusion: the colors are not mineral, not vegetable, and not animal. They are not of this earth. Decades later, NASA consultant Dr. Philip Cerner Callahan scanned the image with infrared light. He found no underdrawing, no sketch, no sizing to prepare the rough canvas. To paint a portrait like this on raw cactus fiber is like trying to paint a masterpiece on a screen door. But strangest of all, he found that the pigment does not soak into the fibers. In some places, the color floats 0.3 of a millimeter above the cloth. It is not a painting. It is a projection that got frozen in time. But as incredible as the floating paint and the indestructible canvas are, they are nothing compared to the final mystery. A mystery hidden in the eyes of the Virgin, waiting 500 years for the invention of the computer to be revealed. The final secret is so small that for centuries, no one knew it existed. It wasn't until 1979, when Dr. Jose St. Tonsman, a computer systems engineer, digitized high-resolution photographs of the Virgin's face, that the truth was found. He magnified the iris of her eyes 2,500 times. What he found buried in the microscopic grain of the cornea shouldn't be there. It obeys the Perkin's-Sanson law of optics, which dictates how human eyes reflect images. In the reflection of her eyes, there is a scene. It is not a painting of a scene. It is a distortion-perfect reflection of what was in front of her, the moment the image was formed. You can see a balding, bearded man, Bishop Zumarraga. You can see a man kneeling, Juan Diego. You can see a dark-skinned woman, a servant. You can see the interpreter, Juan Gonzalez. The eyes of the Virgin of Guadalupe are not painted. They are a photograph. They captured the exact millisecond the roses fell to the floor on December 12, 1531. They hold the reflection of the people in that room, frozen forever in a divine snapshot. And this brings us to the end of the mystery. We live in a skeptical age. We demand data. We demand proof. And perhaps that is why the tilma exists. It is a miracle designed for the age of science. The more we analyze it with lasers, chemicals, and computers, the more it refuses to be explained away. It remains an indestructible object, painted with light, resting on a fabric that should be dust. But the true miracle isn't the preservation of the cactus fiber. The true miracle is the message. In a time of blood and fire, When two civilizations were tearing each other apart, the divine didn't appear to a general, or a king, or a high priest. She appeared to a 57-year-old farmer who thought he was a dead leaf. She spoke his language. She treated him with dignity. She used him to unite a broken world. Juan Diego, the humble messenger, died in 1548. But his tilma remains, waiting for you in Mexico City. It hangs there as a silent, enduring promise, a promise that no matter how dark the world gets, I'm not here, who am your mother. Are you not in the crossing of my arms? The answer, written in stars and roses, is yes.